Hello and welcome to Learn, Do, Become Radio. My name is Alia and I'm one of the team members here at Learn, Do, Become. And in today's podcast, I'm going to be sharing a few examples of how I use the 8 processing questions, which I believe are totally life-changing, game changers, have helped me so much in the last 10 years that I've had my STEP Command Central set up. So I'm going to share how I process a few random things around my home that are physical items, and then also a few things that are digital on my capture tool and in a few emails I get. And I'll explain a little bit more about that as well. But I just am so excited because this is something that has helped me feel so confident that I know exactly how to deal with every single item in my life. And sometimes I see an object that's a physical item and I'll think, oh, what do I even do with this? And then I just take it through these 8 processing questions and it feels so simple, so light, and so easy. And this is so important to me because here at Learn, Do, Become, we help people who are drowning in the details of life create simple systems so they can do what matters most. And I think part of that feeling of drowning in the details of life is we have these random items that are physical or digital, and we just think, what am I even supposed to do with this? Like, I just have so many random things and they all have little actions required of them, but where do I put them? What do I do? And that's what I want to go through and explain to you today, and really give you encouragement that you can do this in your life, whether or not you're a member of our formal STEP program. And STEP is our signature program at Learn, Do, Become, and it stands for Steps to Everyday Productivity. And we've really found that people are able to have a successful Command Central, whether or not they're in our formal program. Actually, nothing's a secret in the Command Central. We have all the parts listed on our site. We have YouTube videos about them, social media posts. I'm even going to link a post that we have on our site that has all of these 8 processing questions written out one by one. So nothing is a secret, but we have found that many people love the additional support that our programs offer. We have all of the content put in one place for you, with special videos and extra bonus audios and worksheets and things that really help you solidify those principles. So if you're like, hey, right now is not a good time for me to join a formal program, that's not a problem at all. We have everything on the site. You just will have to go gather those pieces together and then build your Command Central. Or if you're thinking, this is actually probably the time for me to take that next step and have a formal program that takes me step by step through the whole process to set everything up long term so that I'll be totally successful and that I'll be able to have it running for the rest of my life. We'd love to have you join us in our STEP program, and you can find details about that at learndobecome.com/STEP program. So first, let's just go through what these 8 questions are. It's kind of a flow chart that we have inside the program, but here I'll link them and I'll also put them on our show notes. You can find the show notes at learndobecome.com/radio. And basically these questions just take you one by one, asking initially, is an action required? If it's not, then you stop right there. You're done answering the questions and you can archive the item. But if an action is required, then you move on to question 2. And we have 8 questions total because sometimes you might get to question 4 and say, yep, that answers it. I know exactly where to put this item. But sometimes the question 4 isn't the stopping point. So you need to go all the way down to question 5, 6, or 7. So there's nothing hard about these questions. I'm not going to read every single one right now. I'll link them again on the show notes page. And I'll also link them in the initial podcast where these questions came from. But I will go through the whole process of answering these questions for myself as I go through each item. So if you want to go through each question on your own, you're welcome to check out that full list on our show notes page, and I'll have that linked in the description of the podcast. And then you can also find the show notes on our page at learndobecome.com/radio. All right, let's jump into these items that I need to process. So I have 5 things that are physical, and then I'll just pull a couple random things off of my email and my capture tool. The capture tool is basically either a physical or digital note where you write down things that come to you during the day, and then at the end of the day, you process them into your Command Central. And this is super helpful because then you don't end up with a million sticky notes everywhere. You have one designated place that's either physical or digital, or some people even have both if they prefer that. And then you're able to look at that list at the end of the day, or some people start their day looking at this list and then processing those items. And when I say processing, it really just means taking it through these 8 questions and then figuring out where do they go and how do I put it into my command central so I feel totally confident that I know exactly when and where I'll come across this item again. All right. Let's start with the first item. It is 3 Allen wrenches. We recently put together something, and I think it came with 1 Allen wrench, but then there's 2 others of a different size, and I'm not sure if they came from our toolbox, so they've just been sitting on our counter for a few days. So the first question is an action required? Yes. I'm not going to leave them on my counter forever. Next, can I do it in 2 minutes or less? So this question number 2 is a big one that I think we need to take a step back and talk about for a second. Can I do it in 2 minutes or less? Oftentimes when I'm processing, I choose to process items into my command central when it's quiet and when I have a little bit of free time and flexibility. And so most times I'm able to go do those 2-minute tasks right away. However, if I were short on time, if I had my kids running around, or if I had a lot going on and I probably shouldn't spend a lot of extra time doing the 2-minute tasks, then I probably would need to put them in. I probably need to keep going with these questions and say, no, I can't do it in 2 minutes or less. So when it comes to the 2-minute rule, it can be tempting to say, well, yeah, of course I can do it in 2 minutes. So I'm going to spend all day doing 2-minute tasks. If you're finding that that's derailing you from the things that you need to be doing during the day, then I might invite you to step back and say, no, this is actually not a 2-minute task right now because I need to prioritize other things at the moment. So technically, taking the Allen wrenches where they go and looking at it could be a 2-minute task, but I'm going to pretend that it's not a 2-minute task. So for the sake of this podcast, if it's a 2-minute task, I'm just going to say no, I can't do it in 2 minutes or less because I have other things that I'm working on that day. And then I'll take it through the rest of the questions to figure out where we put it. But just know that in my own personal life, I probably would be able to do these 2-minute tasks because I choose to do my processing in times when I have a little bit of free time, maybe like 20 or 30 minutes of open time, and usually at the end of the day when our kids are in bed, and I can be more flexible that way. All right, so the question number 3 is, does it belong on my routines list? Nope, it's just some Allen wrenches. Number 4, do I need to add any projects to my projects list? Nope, it's not a project. 5, is there a deadline? No. What is the next action? That's question number 6. The next action would be to take it to our laundry room where we have our toolbox. And then I would probably just need to pull the toolbox down. It is on a high shelf, so I might need to bring the step stool with me. So that would probably be a combo next action. Grab the step stool and take it to the laundry room, and then put the Allen wrenches where they go in the toolbox. So I would probably put that under the home section of my next actions list. The next actions list is a list segmented by the different areas of our lives, like home, errands, phone calls, things to discuss with other people, things to do on the computer, and so on. So I would put under my home task, grab step stool plus bring the Allen wrenches to laundry room. And then I have a little basket that I keep items in that pertain to my next actions. So I would put the Allen wrenches in our little basket, and then when it's time for me to do home tasks, I'm able to go to that basket and then work on those things. So again, it might seem kind of silly, like, why are you putting it on a list? It'd probably take longer to go put it on a list instead of just doing the 2-minute task. I agree. That's why I would probably just do the 2-minute task and plan my processing time accordingly. But I think it really is important to note that sometimes we can't spend a million minutes doing 2-minute tasks. So we need to really just figure out where's the best use of my time right now, and what does it make more sense for me to put this on my next actions list and do it when I'm doing home focused tasks, or does it make sense to do that right now? So sorry for that tangent, but I think that's kind of an important thing to figure out as you're getting started with your command central, because it can be really easy to get sidetracked and then say, well, processing takes so long, it takes forever. And it can take forever if we aren't prioritizing our time and doing the things on our list in a way that really makes sense with our available time and energy and other commitments that we have. All right, and now for item number 2. We have 3 pans sitting on our counter because we had some friends that brought us dinner and they made it in their own pans. And so we ate the dinner, put it away, washed the pans, and now we have the pans just sitting on our counter and they're just kind of taking up a lot of space. So I'll take it through the questions. Is an action required? Yes. Can I do it in 2 minutes or less? Technically, no. I could put the pans in my car pretty quick, but I can't take the pans all the way back to my friends. They live kind of far away. Does it belong on my routines list? No. Do I need to add any projects to my current projects list? No. Is there a deadline? No, but I would like to get it back to them in a timely manner. So anything that's not urgent, but we do want to get it done soon, that's perfect for our next actions list. And that's question number 6. What is the next action? The next action would be to put return pans, like write that down, on my errands section of my next actions list. So I would put return pans underneath errands, and then we have a little landing spot right next to our front door where we set items that we take out to the car the next time we go to the car. So I would put the pans on this little landing spot, and I just know anything in the landing spot goes right to our car. And this helps us not have a lot of clutter buildup that should belong in the car or that needs to be taken somewhere that relates to errands. So I just know that I can set those items there right away. That's pretty quick because it's right next to where I was sitting while I'm doing this podcast and where I would be doing my processing. And then I'm technically done because it's under my errands section. And then whenever I'm out and about or when I'm scheduling errands, I look at the errands section of my next actions list and I try to figure out, am I going to be in this certain area? What can I do while I'm there to maximize my errand time? And these friends don't really live in the same direction where we do a lot of errands, but we do drive past their house every time we go to church on Sunday, and we drive past it to and from church. So what I might do, this isn't technically part of the 8 processing questions, but I guess it could relate to question number 8. Number 8 is, am I totally clear on when I will see this and complete it? So because I want to take these pans back in a timely manner, I'm going to put a little reminder on my calendar after church on Sunday to say, drop the pans off if we haven't already. And that way I'm already in that part of the community. I won't have to do another separate errand to take it back. So if I happen to be in that area before Sunday, great, it's on my next actions list and I'll look at it when I'm running errands. But if I don't happen to be in their area, then I know that I'll take it back on Sunday when we're driving past their house. All right, the next item is a shirt that needs mending. This one, I might not take it through all of the questions because generally I have a routine where I have a little pile of things that I mend, and I usually mend things maybe once a month or twice a month. So it is kind of a routine that I already have in my life, but I will take it through the questions quickly just in case you don't have a mending routine, or if maybe you're brand new to this still and the examples are helpful. So is an action required? Yes, we need to mend it. Can I do it in 2 minutes or less? No. Does it belong on my routines list? No. I mean, mending is a routine, but this one item that needs to be mended? No. Do I need to add any projects to my projects list? No. Is there a deadline? No. What's the next action? I need to put it under my home section of my next action list and then write mend shirt. And it's a pretty small hole, but it probably will take 5 minutes or something, maybe 5 to 10 minutes. So that's my next action, is put it under the home section. And then question number 7 is, are there any associated support materials? And if so, file them appropriately. So just like the Allen wrenches, there are support materials because it's the item that I need to use. So I'll put it in my little basket where I put items relating to my next actions. And then when I'm ready to work on that next action and do my mending, I'll know exactly where to find it. It's right in that little box. And then I can say with question number 8, am I totally clear on when I will see this and complete it? Yes, I am. I know that I'll see it on my next actions list and that the item is in my next actions list items box. All right, another item of clothing on my list is a clothing item that needs the buttons taken off. We have a shirt that has buttons that are decorative and they're kind of inconvenient and kind of clunky. and they're really not adding any functionality to the shirt. So is an action required? Question number 1, yes, I want to take these buttons off and this item's just sitting on our desk right now. Can I do it in 2 minutes or less? If I were not on this podcast and if it were my normal processing time, I would say yes. I'd probably just grab the scissors, snip the threads super quick, and then cut it off. So I might even just stop at this on this one, because if you didn't have time to do the 2-minute task, then you could put it on, you can go through the questions right here and then put it on your next actions list under the home category. And then you could put the item of clothing in the next actions support materials box. Or if you were able to do it in 2 minutes or less, you could just grab the scissors and cut off the buttons right then and call it good. So those are the 2 options, and I would probably, again, do just quickly cut off the buttons and be done with it. But I could add it to my next actions list the same way I added the shirt that needs mending to my next actions list. All right, and then the final physical item I have is a dental packet from our dental insurance with new information for 2025, plus a new dental card for one of our family members. So number 1, is an action required? Yes. Can I do it in 2 minutes or less? No, I probably can't review the packet in 2 minutes or less. Is it a routine, and does it belong on my routines list? No. Do I need to add any projects to my projects list? No, it's not really a project. It's kind of a one-time thing. Is there a deadline? Not really. We're not going to the dentist for the next little while. Our appointments are not for the next few months. So I think there's not really a solid deadline. So moving to question 6, what is the next action? I probably need to just spend 10-15 minutes skimming through the packet. And that's perfect, because next actions generally take 10 to 20 minutes to complete. So I would put this under my home section. Again, most of these tasks are going to be in the home section because they're random items from around my home. So again, maybe this is going to apply if you're having a lot of items at work, or if you have a lot of things that relate to errands you need to run, or maybe a lot of your physical items have a task that needs to be completed on the computer. It's going to look different for each person, but at the end of the day, as long as you feel confident about where you're going to be when you're dealing with said items, that's all that matters. So the next action would go under my home section, and I would say read through dental packet. And it's not that big, it's probably 10-15 pages, but I want to be thorough and make sure I understand all the information there. So I would put that on my next actions list. And then question 7 is, are there any associated support materials? If so, file them appropriately. So again, I would put this in my box of next actions items. And then once I'm done reading the packet and I've gone through it, I have a separate file for all of our dental insurance and dental information in general. So as soon as I finish that next action, I know where to put the item in its final landing spot, or that final home for my dental information. So question number 8, am I totally clear on when I will see this and complete it? Yes, it's on my next actions list, and I know where to put my dental information once I'm done with it. All right, so those are the physical items. Now let's do a couple digital items as we close this up. So one thing I wrote down on my capture tool today is a thought that came to my mind and I didn't want to lose it. So I wrote down a plan when to make some freezer meals for a family in our community. We have a family that we know that's having a baby in 3 weeks, and my husband and I are really big into making freezer meals, and most of the recipes that we make for regular lunches and dinners can be frozen super well and, reheated later as freezer meals. So I wanted to make a few of these meals, maybe make a little bit of extra of our dinners that we make on a regular basis, and start batch prepping some of those to give to them for their time with their new baby. So that's kind of the long-winded explanation for that. But I wrote it down because it really mattered to me and I really want to make it happen. So I have the 8 processing questions right in front of me again. Is an action required? Yes. Can I do it in 2 minutes or less? No. I wish I could make freezer meals that fast. Question 3, does it belong on my routines list? No. Question 4, do I need to add any projects to my projects list? Yes, I do. I want this to become one of my current projects, and we have a recommendation of not having more than 7 to 8 current projects total in all areas of your life. So I need to look at my current projects list and make sure that I'm not going to overload myself. And then I can add this project to the family section. We recommend having projects segmented in me, family, and beyond. Beyond is work and volunteer things. So on my family section, I'm going to write, make freezer meals for this family. And that can be something we work on together. Is there a deadline? Yes, they're having their baby in about 3 weeks. And I really would love to have the meals done by maybe a week and a half, 2 weeks from now, just in case their baby comes early. So I'm going to look at question number 6, and that says, what is the next action? Well, the next action would be to maybe have a conversation with my husband and do a brainstorm of the meals that we want to make. So I'm going to add on my to discuss section of my next actions list, talk with Josh, my husband, about which meals we want to make. And that way we can meal plan together and make sure that those meals that we're already going to make for our family, that they'll freeze well and be good meals for our friends. So that's my first next action. And we have planning time together every Sunday, and that's coming up. So I'll just make sure that during my planning session with my husband, I'll add a little reminder on my calendar that says, check your next actions list. And then that way my husband and I can discuss this and we can plan our meals together. And with projects, we have different project resources here on the site, so you're always welcome to dive deeper into projects specifically. But once you complete one next action, which is my to discuss item with my husband, then you can give yourself the following next action and add that to your list. So the next action would then be something like going to the grocery store and getting the items, and then planning time on the calendar to actually make those meals, and then scheduling time to box them all up and take them to our friend. So I'm not going to worry about all of the following next actions right now. All that matters is that this project is safe on my projects list and I have the first next action ready to go. It's my to discuss item to make a plan with my husband. And then I just trust the system and I trust that everything is going to be safe and that I'll be able to get to this project in the right time. And then obviously I can add some date specific next actions to my calendar if I notice that I'm falling behind on the schedule or if I need to kind of hurry it up a little bit more. But that's pretty flexible and that's up to me and how I'm feeling and how the project is moving forward. All right, the next thing on here is to add a few dates to my calendar. I was texting with a friend and she sent me a few dates for something that we're doing together, and I needed to add them specifically on my calendar because there was some extra details to go along with them. So I screenshotted her message and I put it in my capture tool, which is just, I use a digital note in my notes app on my iPhone. And I added her screenshot about adding times to my calendar for our event that we're doing. And so that is something I'll take through the processing questions really quick. Is an action required? Yes. Can I do it in 2 minutes or less? Yes, I think I can do it in 2 minutes or less, especially if I'm sitting at my computer because it's a little bit easier for me to use the calendar on the computer when I can just type everything in really quick and not have to bounce between my phone. So I think I would just probably do that in 2 minutes or less. However, if you were not able to do it in 2 minutes or less, you could keep going through these processing questions and you could add it to your next actions list under phone/computer if you needed to spend some extra time gathering details and really be very focused on adding things to your calendar in that way. So again, there's options there. If you can do it in 2 minutes or less, great. If you can't, it might be better as a next action to put it on your calendar when your time is appropriate. All right, and now I have the final item, which is to send an email to a friend. We do it's almost like a digital pen pal thing. So she writes me a letter each Sunday, and then I write to her each week and give her a little update and the couple of pictures I attach. And it's been a fun way to stay in touch ever since we moved away about 4 or 5 years ago. So it's something fun. It is one of my routines each week, but I'm going to take it through the processing questions as if it were not one of my routines. So is an action required? Yes. Can I do it in 2 minutes or less? Usually I spend 5 to 10 minutes, so no. 3, does it belong on my routines list? Yes, it does. So this is something that I do each Friday or Saturday. Usually I have enough pictures and updates from the week to send on Friday or Saturday. So I have it on my routines list on Friday. And then if I'm really not able to get to it on Friday, then that's when I have Saturday as my buffer day when I can send her the email. So again, this is a routine that I've been doing for 4 or 5 years. So it's something that I'm really confident in doing. I email her every single week. But if you were just getting started with a brand new routine, you might consider putting a reminder on your calendar to make sure that that routine actually sticks. Because as much as our routines list can be helpful, if we have anything that is a must-do routine or is date specific or it really needs to happen by a certain time, then having a calendar reminder can be really helpful. So that way you don't forget about it and then you don't feel like, oh man, I already forgot it on this routine. How am I supposed to keep it going? And it helps you feel really confident in the items on your routines list when they have a calendar reminder attached to them. So that's what I would do if I did not have my routine established. I would put it on my routines list and then add a calendar reminder. And then as the routine becomes more solid and I don't need that anymore, then I can just leave it on my routines list and trust that I'll check in each day or each week with my routines list. And then I'm going to skip down to question number 7 because it's not a project. There is a deadline, but we already covered that in the routines list. It's not really a next action because it's part of my routines. And question number 7 says, are there any associated support materials? If so, file them appropriately. I usually file the email in my friends folder. So I have a little folder for my emails with friends, and then I know that I'll find it and complete it because I have it on my list and it's one of my routines. So I hope that's helpful in just hearing how I do that and how that process works for me in both physical and digital items. Again, I'll put all the processing questions on the show notes, and all the pieces of our Command Central are explained on the website, and they're all there for you if you'd like to go learn more about them, especially diving deeper into things like routines lists and projects lists and next actions lists. We have all these lists, but it's not just to give you more lists to look at. It's because every single item that comes into your life has a place and belongs on one of these lists. And it's so life-changing. I feel like there's not one item that I can't handle. Obviously, some things might have more emotions attached, or maybe they are multi-step, or they involve other people. That's where it can add a little bit more complexity or a little bit more thought that needs to go into each item. But at the end of the day, taking it through these 8 processing questions solves pretty much all the questions or stress or additional thoughts that I have about every single item. So I invite you to use these questions, maybe print them out if you haven't already. We have a worksheet in our STEP program. For those who are members of the program, we have a nice worksheet that goes through each one step by step, but you could also write them down, print them out from the podcast show notes. There's so many options. So again, if you'd like to join us in our STEP program, you can learn more at learndobecome.com/STEP program. And if you're brand new to Learn to Become and you're thinking, well, I want to know more about what you guys do, or what about projects, or what's kind of the overview of what you guys offer, we have a free webinar called How to Finally Stop Drowning in Piles, and you can find that at learndobecome.com/step. So we hope you enjoy this podcast, and if you'd like to share any examples of things that you've processed, we'd love to hear from you, and you can do so in the comment section of our show notes page. So have a wonderful day, and thanks so much for joining us here at Learn to Become.